Alright, so today we're going to discuss solving inequalities. Right, the vocabulary you need to know for this one is compound inequality. So that just says by joining two inequalities together, the word and the word or, and create a compound inequality. So basically what that means is for something to be a compound inequality, I could take two inequalities, so let's say 8 less than 2x and 3x less than or equal to 21. By me putting the word and between them, that is now a compound inequality, because now everything that works for this and everything works for this are both in the set of solutions. Same thing works if I did the word or, so I could do 9 plus m is greater than or equal to 12, or 6 plus m is less than 2. Right? So I got and or, so those are compound inequalities. Alright, so let's look at properties of inequalities. I share a lot of properties that have solving equations as well, with a little extra in it. Alright, so it still needs to be transitive. So if A is greater than B and B is greater than C, then A is greater than C. So for instance, if 6 is greater than 4 and 4 is greater than 2, then 6 must also be greater than 2. It has a property of addition. So if A is greater than B, then A plus C must be greater than B plus C. So for example, if 5 is greater than 3, 5 plus 1 must be greater than 3 plus 1. We also have subtraction. So if A is greater than B, then A minus C has to be greater than B minus C. If, for instance, 7 greater than 5, so that 7 minus 3 is still greater than 5 minus 3. Multiplication. So if A is greater than B and C is greater than 0, then AC is greater than BC. If A is greater than B and C is less than 0, then AC is less than BC. Basically, if 6 is greater than 5 and 2 is greater than 0, then 6 times 2 will be greater than 5 times 0. Also, again, if 4 is greater than 2 and negative 3 is less than 0, then 4 times negative 3 must then also be less than 2 times negative 3. Right? It also has a property of division. So if A is greater than B and C is greater than 0, then A over C is greater than B over C. And if A is greater than B and C is less than 0, then A over C is less than B over C. Basically, that is just if A is greater than 2, 2 is greater than 0. 8 over 2 is greater than 2 over 2. And if 15 is greater than 5 and negative 5 is less than 0, then 15 over negative 5 is going to be less than 5 over negative 5. Alright? Let's do some problems then. So writing an inequality. Alright, we're going to write the inequality that represents the sentence. So the sum of a number and 7. So again, the sum means to add, which goes where the and is. A number can be just some letter x, so that's x plus 7, is less than, so that would be this guy. It makes an L with like your left hand, so less than sign. 15. There you go. So a lot like equations. So we have the product, which means to multiply, of a number w and 4. So now we get w, again we use the dot, times 4 is at least. Right? At least means it's 28 or more. So at least means that's or more. So that would then make it a greater than or equal to sign. So greater than or equal to 28. And so now we have 8 less than a number is no more than 3. It gets a little tricky here. A less than doesn't have an is after it. It says a subtraction sign, but because of the than, we have to go to the left. So this becomes 8 minus, because now we're going to the left, a number, maybe x, is no more than, right? So no more than can't be greater than 3, right? So that's definitely a less than sign, but it can be 3, so no more than 3, so less than or equal to 3. There we go. A little bit of playing on words, but the more we do, the more of a pattern we'll find. Alright, so quotient means the divide of a number m and n. That and is where that goes. So that's going to be m divided by 6 is greater than 9. Greater than signs. Greater than. There you go. Alright, let's move on. So example 2. We're going to solve the inequality and graph the solution. So by solving this is the exact same concept as equation, except there's one addition to the rule, and that is if you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must flip the inequality sign. Other than that, it is the same steps as equations. So I'm going to get rid of my constant first. So I'm going to do the inverse of subtracting 9, which is adding 9. So it gives me 5w is less than or equal to 30. And I get rid of my constant, so I'm going to divide both sides by 5. So 30 divided by 5 is 6. So you can make a number line. Let this be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, however you want to make the number line. At 6, I'm going to put an open circle, but because there's a line there, I'm actually going to fill it in. So a couple notes you need to know here is a less than or greater than. It's an open circle. But less than or equal to or greater than or equal to, we'll get a closed circle. Now, make sure the letter is on the left side, and whatever this inequality is pointing towards, that is the direction we're going to shade. So since it's pointing to the left, I'm going to shade to the left. We gotta make sure the letter's on the left side, and whatever the inequality is pointing at, that's the direction it will go. Alright, so in example 3, let's do some more. So here again, we get rid of my constant, so I'm going to add 21 to both sides. This gives me 8x is greater than 96, and then divide both sides by 8, and you will get 12. So I'm just going to put, we'll say 0 is here, and we'll say 12 is here. Right, there is no line underneath it, so it's just going to get an open circle, and then the inequality is pointing to the right, so I'm going to shade to the right. And if you want to try B and C, that might be a good idea. Alright, so let's see what you got. So in B, first thing we got to do is get rid of parentheses. So I'm going to distribute. So negative 2 times x is negative 2x. Negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. Plus 9 is greater than or equal to 3. I'm going to combine like terms. So negative 10 plus 9 is negative 1. Alright, and then I'm going to get rid of my constant. So now I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So now I got negative 2x is greater than or equal to 4. Here's the addition to the rule. When I go to divide by -2 on both sides, because I'm dividing by a negative number, I must flip the inequality. So instead of a greater than or equal to, it becomes a less than or equal to -2. Right? Now we're ready to graph it. So I'm going to say this is 0, -1, -2. Because of the line, I know it's going to be a closed circle. And because it's pointing to the left, I'm going to shade to the left. Alright, let's do C. So I'm going to distribute the -3. So -3 times m is -3m. -3 times 4 is -12. Plus 8 is less than -13. I'm going to combine like terms. So I'm going to drop down my -3m. -12 plus 8 gives me -4 is less than -13. And now I'm going to get rid of my constant. So now I'm going to add 4. That zeroes out. So I got -3m is less than or equal to -9. And now I'm going to divide both sides by -3. And again, because I'm dividing by a negative number, I have to flip this less than sign into a greater than sign. And the -9 divided by -3 is just +3. So now I'm going to do 0, 1, 2, 3. And because there's no line underneath it, it just gets an open circle. And because it's pointing to the right, I'm going to shade to the right. Let's look at another one. So using inequalities. Alright, so we're going to write an inequality to solve the problem. So it says here the length of a flat screen TV is 16 inches greater than the width. The perimeter is less than 150 inches. Describe the dimensions of the TV. Alright, so step 1. We're going to define our variables. That makes sense. For the problem. Alright, so we're going to let L equal the length of the TV. We're going to let the W equal the width of TV. We're going to let the P equal to the perimeter of TV. Alright, step 2. We're going to write an inequality. So my L here, it stated, so the length of the flat screen TV is 16 inches greater than the width. So I now know the length is 16. Greater than means to add in this situation because there's no is in front of it. When we're talking about adding and not the inequality symbol. Actually, that would be 16 plus my width. And it told me my perimeter is less than. So it is there. So my perimeter is less than 150 inches. Alright. And I know the perimeter of a rectangle is 2L plus 2W. So now I can plug this in. So I got 2L plus 2W, because that's what my perimeter is less than 150. Right? Now I can plug in what my L is. Since I know my L is 16 plus W, that gives me 2. 16 plus W plus 2W is less than 150. Now I'm ready to solve it. So I'm going to distribute. So 2 times 16 is 32 plus 2W plus 2W less than 150. Alright, combine like terms. So this gives me 32 plus 4W is less than 150. Get rid of my constant, so I'm going to subtract 32. That zeroes out. So 150 minus 32 is 118. And then I'm going to divide both sides by 4, which would be, let's see, 118 divided by, plus 7, divided by 4. Okay, again, give me a fraction, so I'm just going to do Control Enter, and I see that it's 29.5. That means my width must be less than 29.5 inches. Right? And then my length has to be less than 16 plus 29.5, which would then tell me my length has to be less than 45.5 inches. Okay. So let's do one more in this video. So B is a digital movie service, offers 2 subscription plans. The first has a $9 membership fee and charges $1 per download. The second has a $25 membership fee and charges 50 cents per download. How many songs must you download for the second plan that costs less than the first plan? Alright, so again, step 1. Variables. Let's define them. I'm going to let A represent my first plan. I'm going to let B represent my second plan. Let my little d represent my number of downloads. So that's because it's asking how many songs must you download. And I have 2 subscription plans, the first and the second. Alright, so step 2 then is to write an inequality. Alright, A, or plan 1, says it's $9 for a membership fee, so I have to know that's $9 plus $1 per download. So there's the first plan. Second plan is $25 membership fee plus 50 cents for every download. Alright, step 3, we're going to solve the problem. Alright, it says how many songs must you download for the second plan to cost less than the first plan. So I'm looking at when the second plan becomes less than the first plan. So I'm looking at B is less than A. So now I'm going to plug in what I know. I know my B and my A. So that's going to be 25 plus 0.50D is less than 9 plus 1D. Alright, so now I can get my D's on one side. So 0.50 is, well, When dealing with inequalities, you actually want to move everything to the left so you keep the letter on the left. So I'm actually going to go ahead and subtract 1D over. So it's going to be subtracting 1D. Of course, you can always do it the other way as long as you know how to flip it off at once. Alright, so now you get 25 minus 0.50D is less than 9. I'm going to get rid of my constants. I'm going to subtract 25. And right there zeroes out. I'm left with negative 0.50D is less than, let's see, 9 minus 55. I'm at 25, which is negative 16. And then I'm going to divide by negative 0.50. Again, don't forget, because I'm dividing by a negative, I have to flip the inequality. So that less than becomes a greater than. And I'll see that that negative 16 divided by negative 0.5 gives me 32. All right. So, in step 4, we're going to answer the question in words. So when you download more than 32 songs, the second plan costs less than the first. You always want to finish your answer with a complete thought. Alright, so that'll conclude this video. When you get all your notes written down, go on to the next video, and then don't forget to post in the discussion a comment or question about what you learned in the section.